Hello everyone, I hope everybody's doing okay and staying safe. Today I want to go over another Soul Self-Found hardcore character. Last time we went over a character for general mapping, and this character is gonna be specifically for bossing. This has been the best and the most tested character for hardcore players, whether that would be trade or whether that would be in Soul Self-Found for bossing in general. This is gonna be a Juggernaut, Herald of Agony character. And I wanted to change the general trade version to a more up to date, soul self found viable version. And I'm gonna talk over like the tree, the gear, everything, and I'm gonna discuss why this is such a good character, specifically for bossing, because this is not gonna be that fast for mapping. It's not gonna be really enjoyable, and because it's a specific character for bossing, you're probably not gonna have that much levels because you don't wanna map as much with this character probably. So I'm gonna give you like a tree. This is currently a tree at level 91. You can maybe get another 2 or 3 levels, and I'm gonna talk about what are gonna be like the best options to get as much as you can, and we're gonna go over a couple of different things. So let's go over the tree real quickly. As you can see, we are gonna be a Juggernaut. The reason for Juggernaut is very simple. It's gonna be first this one unstoppable. This means that we are not gonna be stunned. We are not gonna be frozen, which means that you do not need a freeze removal flask, and that's open up a flask. And by being not being able to be stunned or frozen, you are gonna gain a defensive layer by itself, because you can always move away from whatever is happening, whoever is trying to kill you, all the mobs. Unbreakable, just some regeneration, 5% generic reduced damage taken. Armor is going to be doubled from body armor, and 1.5% of total physical damage prevented from hits. The past 10 seconds is going to be regenerated as life. So this by itself is giving us so much life regen in the situations that we are going to be needing it. More armor, more reduced damage taken, always very good. The whole reason for Juggernaut, more than anything, unflinching, just generic endurance charge generation. You're always, as soon as you enter a map, or as soon as you enter a boss, and you get hit once, you're gonna have your endurance charges up all the time. So this is our endurance charge generation in general. And when this is not up, I'm gonna talk about a little bit later, actually. Why not right now? When you enter a map and you do not have, or you enter a boss and you do not have any endurance charges, there's a couple of ways for you to be able to generate those endurance charges. One of the simple ones is like that belt that hits you for a little bit of physical damage when you use any movement speed, and then you can just use any movement speeds, right? Shield charge, or like anything to get hit, and that counts as a hit. I don't remember the name of the bolt actually, now that I think about it, but that will count as a hit, and that will start your endurance charge generation. Not that you really need it, to be honest with you. You can still, without any endurance charge, start the fight, and by the time that you really need it, you're gonna have your endurance charges up. So that's one reason. Unrelenting, again, you're gonna get another additional physical damage reduction per endurance charge. By default, each endurance charge gives, if I'm not mistaken, 4%. Yeah, 4% additional physical damage reduction. This means that by this, you're gonna have 5% physical damage reduction per endurance charge, and we're gonna have 7 endurance charges without anything, which means that by default you get 35% physical damage reduction, which is really nice. You get 8% reduced elemental damage taken while at maximum endurance charges, and I'm gonna go over the resistances when we get to the when we get to the items part. But this is on top of your resistances, which means even more tankiness and some chaos resistance, which is always nice. And this is the whole reason that we go Juggernaut. So this is a general hardcore build. The thing that we are building toward is first tankiness and sustainability. Then we are gonna think about damage, and that's why it's such a good build. Herald of Agony in general, even after a couple of nerfs that happened to it before in like the past couple of leagues, it's still very viable to just put a couple of points into generic damage and minion damage, and then have like a 6-link Herald of Agony, and by itself, by default, it's still doing a lot of damage for you. Again, we are going over here, some life regen, life regen. That's the name of the game, right? Life regen, some resistances, 1 to fire resistance. We're going to grab endurance charges because endurance charges is very great for us. Armor, life, the same thing. We do Soul of Steel, again, 1% maximum resistance, elemental resistance, and 5% additional physical damage reduction. Nothing to sneeze at, really good. Again, some life all the way here, another endurance charge, life, and that's pretty much it. The only place that we actually do for minion damage is these cluster here, this cluster here, and this cluster here, which is really close to our 3. So basically in total we are doing 3, 4, 7, and another 10, 13, 15 points in like minion damage. And what does this gives us? This gives us around 650,000 damage against Shaper and Elder if you have poisons up. Now, how Herald of Agony in general works, you need to poison an enemy for each time that you poison an enemy, you get a virulence stack, if I pronounced that right, and virulence stacks up to 40 maximum. And if you and for each virulence stack, the Herald of Agony gets some more additional damage and some added physical damage, basically. Poison on the enemy, basically you have to poison the enemy, and Herald of Agony just appears from the ground and does what it needs to, basically. We are gonna have endurance charges. Our minion is gonna have frenzy charges or not. If not, we are gonna drop down a little bit. I'm going to talk about a couple of ways that you can generate the frenzy charges. The shield that all the minion builds use is how I'm going to talk about the shield specifically, but keep that in mind. If you take this means that you have that specific shield up, and that's how you're generating your frenzy charges. I don't remember, I'm so bad with names. I don't remember the name of the shield, but that's one of the options. We are going to have 45. 45 is attached to our cyclone, which is how we are poisoning the enemy, and we're gonna over the gear skills as well, which is where we are gonna talk about that. I just wanted to showcase, let's go over the skills and items, and then I'm gonna talk about it. Yes, 500,000 damage is not that much, but keep in mind, when I go over the item, you'll see I'm not putting anything in this specific build. This is SSF found, so everything is a rare, not even good rares, and you're getting 500,000 damage, knowing that you're not gonna die. You have 7,500 life. You have really good physical damage reduction, direct physical damage reduction. It's not like armor, which it's gonna drop off when a boss hits you, and this is a bossing character. So these are like a specific physical damage reductions. You have really good resistances, even if you do not have the specific shield that I will suggest, then you still have 75 and that 8% reduced elemental 76 and 8% reduced elemental damage taken from the node, from the ascendancy itself. And you do not have that much block chance, but you have some block chance, and you have a great recovery. Keep that in mind. Your life regen is really good, and you have life gain on hit. Basically, this character, if you play it right, it's really hard to die. You need to actively try to die on this character. This is that type of tanky of the character, and that's why a lot of the people that you see play hardcore have like at least one character that's to this tanky to this level, or even this character. This is one of the most famous and most played characters. This is not my design or anything. No, a lot of people actually do play this, and there's a reason for it, and the reason being it's such a tanky character. Yes, you may not do 5. Suppose that there's another character that does 2 million damage. So if you're always doing the damage and there's no downtime in the boss fight, which we know is not correct, it's going to take you 4 times the amount that's going to four times the time that's gonna take the other character to kill the boss for this character to kill the boss. Yes, that's correct. 1 minute will become 4, but at the same time, you're not dying. You're not losing character in your hardcore, and you're still doing the boss very easily with like such a low investment in gear, which we are gonna go over. Let's go over the skills. I do have to talk about Flesh and Stone, but generally you want to have like a projectile weakness. This weapon is triggering a socket spell. If you do not have that, you know how to do it. A low level cast when damage taken with Desecrate and Spirit Offering, because this is one of the ways that we increase our damage for Herald of Agony Crawler. So just a low level cast when damage taken, and can manually cast the projectile weakness. The Herald of Agony itself, minion damage, Herald of Agony, damage on full life, maim, depending on what you're running. You may want to run Pierce for general mapping while you're leveling up and like while you're doing the map to get to the boss. Then you can switch to Wall Toxins, and you have different options. In power, if you have like a level 4 in power, that's going to be really good as well. You may want to switch that for one of the links here, but I'm assuming that you're not going to have that many things. So I'm doing like the baseline here. Dash Convocation, Dash Second Wind, very good for basically moving over the ledges, anything, and Convocation. We want to have Convocation on Second Wind because of the cooldown recovery speed that it gives, so we can do convocate our minions faster and more often. Summon Holy Relic, Feeding Frenzy to give the Feeding Frenzy buff to our... I don't know if I actually ticked it. Yeah, I did. Feeding Frenzy buff to our minions. Meat Shield just so it's around us, and Calling Strike just so it like 10% life of the... When you get to the 10% life of the boss, it just kills it. Very nice. Just some additional damage on top of our Herald of Agony. You can do more aggressive one. If you don't want the Meat Shield, you can do something else for more damage. This is a edit. You are not doing anything. It's just giving you life, as you can see here, and it can do some damage. There are like builds that rely on Holy Relic for damage, so you can get like some more damage oriented links here, but I didn't want it to. Wall Multension. Wall Multension is one of the best guard skills that we currently have in the game, right? And we can really use it. I'll go right now by default, and I'm gonna go over the items, but just to give you an idea, the body armor that I put here is a energy shield evasion based, so I'm not getting any armor from the body armor. Any armor basically is got any other what do you call it? Any other body armor is gonna be better than this one because of that armor value, and we have a bunch of increased armor. We have 224%. And that's going to further increase your physical damage reduction. It's going to further increase the amount of wall multition that we are going to get. But I wanted to give you an example of, hey, even if you just get a 6 link from it, like even when it's not an armor burst or a hybrid with armor, you can still do these builds rather quickly. And then the wall multition, whenever you're in a dicey situation, you can just click it, and you have such a great amount of prevention. 80% of damage is gonna go from 75% actually. Sorry, 75% of damage is gonna from hits is gonna be taken from the buff, which is gonna be usually 10,000, and I'm gonna go over it. And that's 10,000 more health that you can just spend every so often. Second wind again for the cooldown recovery speed, cast when damage taken and increased duration. This setup is for the molten shell itself to be automatic, so you can have like wall multiplication just on one of your keybinds and use it whenever you feel like it. We are going to go over the gear, but when we get to the gloves, we are doing an Elder Glove with socket gems are supported by level 20 faster attacks, which is really good for us to get your virulence up faster and keep it up, and basically get, because of how we are doing the skill, because of life gain on hit, gain more life per second. But you can get poison on it as well, and if you do that, and then you can have Withering Touch. As I said, I didn't want it to go over very in depth of like, actually let me play this in depth into all the different versions and advanced crafting for this video specifically. But in gloves you can get poison and faster attacks, and if you get to that point you don't need anything else. That's like the perfect gloves for you. You just remove the poison, you do wither, and in configuration then you can do wither here, and that's going to increase your damage to a lot of damage. Basically that's going to be a lot of damage for you, because wither is the damage taken by the enemy, right? So it's a very good thing for you. If flesh and stone, you can fit it very easily, right? You still have like enough life. You can you're very close to some reduced mana reserved if you need to get more mana to be more comfortable with casting your gear. You have to balance that out, but generally you cannot have this if you actually manage to get the lone messenger, which is one of the things that I don't know if it's probably gonna go core, and but we don't know for sure, so I didn't want to add this. I will go over the cluster jewels for this build specifically, but lone messenger is the best one for us, right? Because it's gonna give you more hold effects, more damage, more everything. And if we don't have this, we probably have to do like a lesser poison or something. You wanna get your poison chance to a comfortable degree, because you're hitting a lot, so you don't have to do 100%, but you probably do want to have like a good chunk of poison, basically poison chance, right? For your cycle. So I went over Flesh of Stone, and if you're using this one, because it has your aura skills are disabled, you cannot use Flesh and Stone, so you don't have to put it. That's why I put it here. If you're still not to that point, get it if you do not. This is more tankiness, right? Like 11% less damage from attacks from enemies that are not blinded or outside of your blind range, basically. And then blind enemies, which is 50% less damage, even if you don't have any evasion, which we do some evasion. So just another thing to keep in mind for even more tankiness. We go over the generic tree, what we have. I'm gonna, of course, attach the POB just to take a look, just if you guys want to take a look. Went over the skills. Let's go over the item, and in the item part, then I'm gonna go over what we can add. Just keep in mind, Withering Touch is a very easy addition here. Everything is rare. There are uniques that are gonna be really good. For example, Cold Iron Points is gonna give you a lot better damage, and you can actually remove that. If you want more damage and less survivability, you can just put that in your second weapon, and or even go with another weapon with like minion damage like this one. I like to have like a little bit of one of the shields that I'm gonna mention. We already mentioned that shield that gives frenzy charges. When you hit an enemy, there's a chance, 15% chance to give your allies frenzy charges, the ones that every summoner uses. That's going to be really good for us. And there, all these shields that I'm going to mention, the unique ones are really common, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you don't get this, just get any shield with like life, resistances, armor. All of them help, right? Or get an. You probably don't need more tankiness, so you can just go for another thing that you can have. Any other weapon basically with minion damage, or maybe +2 level of socket minions. All those things will help. Basically any damage oriented weapon will help for you as well. We do want to have at least one claw, because claws are good in that you get life gain on hit, and we are hitting a lot with Cyclone and faster attacks, keep that in mind. And then we get some mana gain on hit, which is gonna keep us going as much as we want to. So our Cyclone is very, as you can see, our mana cost of Cyclone is 5. We get 14 back, so we can always cycle and use our skills as much as we want. Saffles is really nice, 4% to all maximum resistances. Yeah, you cannot block attacks anymore, but who cares? You know, like 4% additional physical, all maximum resistance is really nice. Lionel's Remorse, even more life. You do not have that 4%. You're still very tanky without that 4%. And Cold Iron Points, as I mentioned, because it gives like additional levels to our Herald of Agony. It's really nice. It's gonna put us, if you find one, this is SSF. So if you cannot, in trade it's really cheap, but in SSF if you can't find one, go for it. It's really nice for us. If not, you can still use another one, get some damage, or use any of the shells that I mentioned. There's a bunch of shells that are gonna be useful for you for survivability, and you're still doing the base damage that we were talking about. You want to have a bone helmet. There's nothing else that you want. The +1 to level of socket minion gems doesn't affect us that much. It's just gonna affect whatever we socket, which is not gonna be Herald of Agony. So damage wise, we don't care about that. Just some life, just some res. Again, as I mentioned, body armor. If you can get some body armor. This is a very bad body armor. Keep in mind, SSF really bad body armor. You're still gonna be great, but just some life, just some armor, maybe some resistance. This would be really nice. Gloves, as I mentioned, if you can get faster attacks, great. With life and resistance, if not, just faster attacks by itself would be more than fine. You have a lot of rares, as you can see, so you can balance your resistances really easily. Faster attacks, if you can get poison on it, even better. Again, boots, you can, the 1% regenerate 1% is really nice. If you can get 2%, even better. You want to have some movement speed, but as you can see, you can even crafted life on this one. Amulets, life resist, the same thing. Life resist, life resist. This one has like some minion movement speed crafted, which is nice, but you can get a lot better things. These are things that you can do. With all the flask, what I wanted to mention is, where is our granite? Yeah, this is the granite. Even with just one granite, you go all the way to 24,000 armor. And your physical damage reduction is the cap, which is 90%. So you're going to be fine from physical damage perspective and elemental damage perspective. So this is a real tanky character, even if you cannot find like a good body armor. But if you can, you may not even need this. Because as I talked about before, armor, this is a bossing character. And a boss hits you once for a lot of damage and usually have a lot of animation. Armor is a lot better for a lot of little hits than one big hit because the value drops drastically. So for mapping, yeah, this is going to be really nice. When you're going through the map, if you have this up, you're going to feel like a god because nothing can kill you. But for bossing, it's not as important. Everything else, you want to probably, because of our massive amount of endurance charges, we do not have to worry about resistances. However, we are overcapped on everything, of course. But you do not have to worry about that. So you may, but you still want to have a curse removal flask for specific bosses, which the curse lingers for, like Shaper Guardians, which the curse of the map lingers to the boss, and the new Elder Guardians as well. So you want to worry about those things. Other than that, curse removal, you're not going to be frozen. Just some bleed removal, and that's all there is to it. From jewel perspective, you just want some minion damage and some life. This is a very good jewel, I'm not gonna lie, but it has just life and minion damage. But even if it doesn't have life, you're not gonna lose that much life, right? So just go for some more life, some more minion damage and life if you can. One thing that you need to do is something like this, which is a corrupted blood. This is going to be really nice, especially for Cirrus. He has like that face. The beams are going to inflict corrupted blood multiple times, and it's going to be really, really nice, and you do not have to worry about it if you have any jewel with corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. You can just basically, all the jewels that you find, if there's life in it, just wall them if you have enough walls in SSF, and eventually you'll get the corrupted blood, which is what you're going to be using. Now the important part, we talked about damage. It's 500,000. It's not that much for bossing. It's still more than enough, but there are a lot of ways to get more damage, right? One of the easy ways is, as I mentioned, this jewel, the unique small jewel, which gives you the lone messenger, which is going to be a lot of damage. But if you're finding jewels, there are other jewels that will help. Even if you don't, I didn't want to add this because I didn't know if it's gonna stand or not. But even if it doesn't, there's still other jewels that are gonna help you. So let's go over all the jewels that I wanted to mention. For the large cluster jewel, if you get a large with renewal, which is gonna be 10% chance to deal double damage when they're on full life. Keep in mind, your Herald of Agony doesn't need any life. Why? Because it's like damage immune. You cannot damage Herald of Agony, right? So that's the only reason that this is gonna always be up. That's a 10% damage increase for more damage, like a multiplier for you. So this is the only thing that stands out. You can get something else. I didn't want to add that. Something even like Feasting Flesh, that's still 10% increased damage, which is more than fine. And you want to get, like, if you can, you want to get like a 2 medium cluster jewels, so you can socket more jewels here, because the medium is where's the good ones. Minions deal 10% increase damage while you're affected by Herald. If you get two of these, even the general passives is going to give you some damage, right? And then we have like the MVP in the medium Cult Leader, because 35% increased damage is a good number, especially because we are not going to be spending too much here. So you can do Cult Leader with any of the other ones. The Pure Agony. If you can get like the best one, it's going to be, you can put 2 medium clusters, both with Cult Leader and Pure Agony. Pure Agony gives you 5 more virulences, which is going to be really nice for you, and 20 more damage. Very good. Cult Leader, very good. For a small cluster jewels, you can go with like some chaos resistance. We get some chaos resistance from the tree. Some we have here. We get some chaos resistance based on our endurance charges. Some from the items themselves. But this is another way of getting some more chaos resistance if you want to be chaos capped, if you're struggling with it. Going with chaos resistance and anti-venom, that just gives you 17% chaos resistance, which is really nice, and affected by poison. If you get this one, you do not have to go for the sort of infinite Terror of the Infinite Drifts for immunity to poison, because this is the one that's going to give you unaffected by poison, which is nice. And if you get that, you can actually, unaffected and immune are different. And if you get this one with the Golden Rule, PoE, it's going to give you even more care, because basically the poisons that you inflict is going to be reflected back to you. So instead of poisoning the enemy, you are going to get poisoned, but at the same time you're going to get a bunch of chaos resistance and a bunch of no, just chaos resistance, because you're not going to do any ability. That's it. So we went over all the jewels. Oh, there was another small jewel, Prismatic Carapace. If you can find one of these, another 1% maximum resistance is sometimes even better than life. Yeah, everybody knows we can go for like Fellow and like life cluster jewels, but keep in mind you may want to have like 1 and 1, because you have so much life and you have such a high percentage life that usually other types of defenses gets better than higher you have the base life on, right? Our life percentage is 200 and something, 237 by default. So another 4% is not going to change that much, but that 1% physical damage or resistance is really built. We talked about everything, I believe. I wanted to make sure you guys know how to find builds in general, especially for this build. You can just come to the forums, go to the Juggernaut or like Alt-Threads, just search for Herald of Agony. There's always going to be a couple. As I was saying, there's always going to be a couple of Herald of Agonies, because what they are. A lot of times they're usually suited toward more trade leagues, hardcore trade leagues, but as there are always a SSF version. This version wasn't a specific SSF version. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them on the comment below the video, or go to the here. Again, another place that you can find general inspiration for your abilities, like PoE Ninja. Go to the builds, select whatever league you're playing. for example, hardcore SSF, and then check out like just filter by Herald of Agony, and you'll see a bunch of Juggernauts playing it, and you can take a look at what they're doing. But keep in mind, because SSF a lot of times it's going to be based on what they find, and that's why I had it here. I didn't add any unique for the damage, and that's why your damage is like 500,000. You can easily get it really high, by the way. Like, don't think about it. This is going to be all the damage you have. You're going to have a lot more damage if you find some good finds, and even if not, you're going to be just fine with like bossing with 500,000, because you're such a tank character. It doesn't matter how long it takes, it's going to get the enemy down. That's pretty much it, and thank you guys. We have in like another 9 days the new league is going to be introduced, and it's going to be, I'm really excited for it again. I did wanted to go over a couple builds before that for general mapping, because I'm gonna play SSF. I still haven't decided again, hardcore not, but like if I want to play hardcore, I'm assuming I'm gonna play hardcore. I wanted to have like a mapping character. This is my Boston character, and as we get closer, I'm gonna put more and more videos, because I don't have any videos in the channel. If somebody asks me, hey, what should I play for this specific reason, I want to have a very simple answer. Hey, here's a video, go take a look. That's going to be the build for you, and this is the build that I wanted to make sure everybody knows about. Everybody, or a lot of people who played this game long enough, know about this build. It's been going on since Herald of Agony came out, but I wanted to put more effort into it because it's such a good build. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention before finishing up the video is that this is level 91. What should I do if I have more levels? Depends on what you want. If you want more damage, go for more damage. These are going to take some points, right? If you don't, you can drop a lot of life and everything. You know how to drop things, right? Like, it's very easy to drop a little bit of life here and there, maybe here, some 5%. All those things can be dropped very easily, or maybe these 4%, not really the best use, these not really the best use. All those things you can drop, and if you're struggling for the points. But if you don't find anything and you have a lot of points basically, and by miracle the jewels are not going to be something that you want to do, and maybe they remove it from the game, which is very unlikely, but if they do, you can always go for more tankiness. You have effect, you are going to be fortified, so you have effective fortify here, and here you can drop all the way to higher levels. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for everything that you guys do. I really enjoyed talking with you on the comments, so if you have any comment, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below, and have a great rest of your day.